If you weren't an architect, what would you have done?
I wouldn't be very good at it. I'd be a musician. You know, I was a musician in high school. I thought that was going to be my career. I actually wanted to study music in college. But my tutor said, Mark, you know, this is not, it's a really rough life, being a musician. And I think I think it was a gentle way of saying, Mark, I don't think you have the talent for that. Find something else.
Right.
But I knew about architecture. My mother's sister is an architect. And coincidentally, she had gone to Carnegie Tech, which is now Carnegie Mellon, in the 60s. She was the only woman in her class. And so I had been in an architect's office. I knew a little bit about what it is. And I understood that drawing was involved, so that kind of satisfied my artistic ambitions. My parents understood that there was some engineering involved, so that satisfied their expectations for some kind of practical training. But I went to a school that had a music school, so just in case.
Right. You know, it's interesting, when I've asked that question before, many times I hear artists, photographer sometimes, musician, and what I equate all of that to is a world without clients.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where you're living in your own world and you're controlling everything and nobody's telling you what to do. So I think it is interesting that when you live in a world where people are telling you what to do every day, and you're artistic, to have that ability to just work on your own thing.
I only realized there were clients a few years into running our business.
Really?
You know, I thought they were facilitating my art. But then I realized, no, they're not facilitating my art. They're actually here for a service. They have something that they want to do, and I'm here to help them make that happen.
Well, yeah, I think with the many firms that I've helped through the years, that the ones that understand that it is truly a service and that we are providing a service are the ones that are most successful at the end of the day. Because if it's something that's so rigid and so about them, I mean, nothing wrong with it, but you're buying them. You're not buying something for yourself.
Right.
What are you certain of?
Besides death and taxes? That's a hard question. I'd say, again, human nature. You know, sort of that people are the way that they are, and they will always be that way. And that we can, as designers, respond to that in infinite number of ways, but if we don't understand the fundamentals, we're going to get lost.
Right. So now I'm going to kill you off, and what legacy would you like to leave?
Oh gosh, a few good buildings. You know, buildings that people would 50 years from now say, wow, we should save that. That's a nice building. Having been made a successful argument for continuing traditional design in the making of cities and places. But I think most importantly, being an organization that people are proud to be associated with, whether they're an employee or a colleague or a client, that, you know, we've built an organization that people say, yeah, I know those guys, or I'm a part of that, and I'm really proud of that.
And you and I have had this conversation before, but you see it as something that sort of lives beyond you. Yes?
Yes, that would be nice.
Right.
It's a gift. It's something I'd like to give to the next generation.
That's great. Well, thank you, Mark. We're going to open it up now to questions in the audience. And I think Christine has a mic. So it's always hard getting that first question. Here we go.
Hi. There's this old saying that leaders are readers, and I was just curious as to what books you read that really get you ticking and, you know, thinking.
Oh, that's a good question, because I have the answer.
It's always a good question when you have the answer.
I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading Ian Fraser's book, Great Plains. It's a travel book. I enjoy reading Paul Theroux. I like his travel books. Both of these guys have a really keen eye, keen ear for, you know, the human condition, and they go places I would never go myself.
Great. Questions?
So when a client comes to you and says, I just want to do the kitchen, and you look at it and you say, you really have to do more,
Of course not. How do you stay composed? So the question is, how do you stay composed when the client asks you to do something, the little repair somewhere in the corner of the house, when you know that it really needs much more? I always tell clients, let's start with the dream. Think big. I know you need this little thing right now, but let's just sort of pull back. Let's get up 40,000 feet and let's look at the way you live, what this house means to you, what you think it might mean to you in 5 years from now. Let's try to take the little thing that you think you need, and get philosophical about it. And then if that sort of soul searching takes you to some really big place, then it's time to edit. So I think it's always easier to start with the bigger, bushier thing, and then to trim a little till you get down to the thing that you really need to do. So it's pruning. We have to be good editors.
Right.
You talked about, not turning down clients and accepting all work. And I wonder about accepting a job that their vision really doesn't reflect your own, and the importance of having things in your portfolio that you're proud of and that you think really do reflect your aesthetic and what you're trying to do. So if you accept something because you don't want to turn away a client, and then you have something really crappy that you create because that's their vision and you want to make them happy, is that a negative thing as you're building your business?
It's both. It can be a negative thing if you're not really true to yourself, if you're not giving them your best advice. You have to remember, it's their house, it's not your house. So there's always a little bit of back and forth, and you're always doing things that you wouldn't do for yourself, but you're doing things that you think are good. We've been very lucky. I would say with very few exceptions, the people that come to us know our reputation. So they don't come to ask for something that we don't already know how to do and love to do and would want to do for them. But there is a commercial aspect to this business, and sometimes you're not doing exactly the thing that you would put in your portfolio. And you don't put it in your portfolio, but you give them the service that they expect and need, and you try to fulfill why it is that they came to you. So even though the design might be the thing that tells your whole story, that's emblematic of what you're all about, you've actually done something good for somebody, and they've had the benefit of your good judgment and your experience.
But you don't have that secret door in the back filled with people doing work that you don't want to tell anybody about, right?
No, it's all out front.
Yes.
Is there any reason why you have not branched out beyond residential?
The question is there any reason why we haven't branched out beyond residential architecture? And that's a great question, because at year 5, we sat down with Keith and he said, you guys need a business plan, because we had just finished the intuitive phase of our business. And he asked us some questions like, what kind of buildings would you like to design? We came up with all kinds of buildings, libraries and museums and things like that. And so Keith said, great. But if you want to do that sort of thing, you have to start to position yourself to be qualified to do those projects, to market your business, to start to engage with the community that's looking for those kinds of, that's generating those commissions. And we realized that would be work. And so I think we were basically lazy. And we said, we love doing houses. It's terrific work. There's no project that's uninteresting to us. And the effort that the 3-year effort that we would have to apply to get ourselves positioned as qualified to do work at the level that we're enjoying as residential architects in an institutional or commercial sector is just more than we want to do. We were too busy with really great clients and really great projects.
That's true. John, do you have a question?
I was just going to ask, I know it's like asking who your favorite kid is, but do you have a project that you look back on and you think is your favorite project that you worked on?
It's a hard question. I'm not big on favorites because each one's got qualities that I think are really great. There certainly have been projects that have taken our game up a notch. You know, sometimes it was the big, fast project that somehow you figured out how to do that you'd never done before. Sometimes it's a project where it had to be exquisite, and there was a very precise and high level of perfection that you wanted to achieve. The best ones are where you're having this great conversation with your client and you're making something together, and at the end you can stand back and say, wow, we did this together. It's beautiful. It's the thing that we thought we wanted to do.
That's great. Let's take one more question.
Is there a reason or reasons why you don't have offices in other locations?
That's a good question too, because we thought about that. This year 5 question. Well, you know, you have all this work in Florida and this work in California. Why don't you open an office there? We thought about it for a long time, and it made, at some level, practical sense because you could eliminate some travel. You could be handy to the site when things happen. But in the end, we realized that to establish the same culture that we have here in New York in a satellite office, that one of the partners would have to go. One of the partners would have to go to that place and create, you know, the sort
Right.
of the carbon copy of the business that we have here in New York. And we thought, well, first of all, we don't like the idea. Neither Oscar nor I wanted to move anywhere, so that's problem number 1. 2, sort of losing the dynamism, really, that you have by having 60 people together in the same firm, you know, seemed like a step backwards. So with computers and airplanes and a willingness to travel early in the morning and come home late at night and do it over the weekend, we said, we'll just stay here in New York.
I do remember that it was a senior member of the firm that left for another location, and we actually toyed around with the idea whether that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't a partner, and it meant a whole different sort of dynamic.
See, Oscar and I have never been building a business. We love building houses, and building the business has been something that's happened along the way.
That's great. So I'm going to let one more question be.
I was wondering, what's your biggest challenge in new hires, and is there a specific quality you're looking for?
Well, first we hire the people. We're not hiring for a particular assignment. So we're looking for people that want to be in our firm, that we think have a talent and a set of values, you know, way of working that's going to mesh with everybody else in the firm. Somebody that wants to grow, somebody who's ambitious, you know, and that they want to work with us in building a career, that they have an idea about, you know, where they want to be in 5 or 10 years, and that they can see partnering with us to make that happen. I usually don't open the portfolio until the very end of the interview. The interview is usually just a conversation, and at the end I'll look at the portfolio. You know, usually by the time that I'm meeting somebody, the portfolio's been vetted, and you know, if somebody's doesn't have the basic skill set, they're not at the table. So it's really much more about culture, and is this a person that we can all like? Not just me, but can we as an office, can we like them and enjoy working with them?
You know, and I would say, Mark, from your retention rate, you're doing something very right. I mean, people don't go anywhere. There is a very high level of retention. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much. I do want to remind everybody that March 21st is our interview with Bunny Williams, and we're looking forward to that. And thank you all for coming. Good night.
Thanks.